You have a business that's autism based. The statistics are sad. They're growing dramatically.
I wanted to open up a clinic for my daughter. I wanted to have a space and a place for her. I can only imagine how many other parents would like to provide that if they don't have that for their children. But it's very overwhelming. Like, it's a lot.
A lot of parents, especially special need parents, their entire being revolves around that child.
Yes.
Not everybody can afford, dude, babysitters are expensive now.
Then if I don't start taking care of myself, I'm not going to be able to take care of her.
I'm here sharing inspiring stories about fearless entrepreneurial women to help encourage you to live your life unapologetically. I'm your host, Heather Blankenship. Welcome to the Unapologetically Me podcast.
On today's episode, I'm talking with Dr. Stephanie B. on how she went to building a business based on her daughter's autism to truly serve an industry that's kind of been lacking. We hear all the statistics on how autism is growing, but we haven't heard how people are serving this community of parents who need some resources to help their children. And she transitioned that business into kind of a twist that you might not expect. So let's dive in. Thank you so much, Dr. Stephanie, for being here. We have so many things to dive into today. But I want to start out with your business background. You have a business that's autism based. The statistics are sad. They're growing dramatically on the children being born with some level of autism in our country. It's affecting boys more than girls, and there's new research coming out all of the time. Yes. And your daughter is autistic, and you were able to build a successful business around that. So talk me through that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was a licensed mental health counselor, thought that was like my career path. And then I went through 5 years of infertility, 6 rounds of IVF, 3 miscarriages, and finally had my miracle baby, Savita. And I knew about a year in,
We should stop. How old is she?
Oh, sorry, she is 13. She's going to be 14.
Stop and talk about, you also weren't like in your 40s, some of the ladies now who waited until they're 40 to get married, 42 or 3, they've started thinking about having a baby, and that is causing some of the infertility.
Exactly.
You were a regular age to have a baby and still facing this.
Yes, exactly. I was technically considered advanced maternal age by like 1 year, but whatever.
Yes, they were calling me geriatric at like 35.
Exactly. But there's also research showing too now, like the infertility drugs and some of the things that I had to do to sustain and have a pregnancy could have had an impact as well with, having a child with autism or something like that. But anyway, I was working had my own private practice. I was working as a registered play therapist and supervisor, so highly specialized with working with children. But I knew nothing about autism, neurodiversity, those kinds of things. So got her diagnosed. And then I was like, now what? So started her in ABA therapy, and I was like, I don't know what this is. So basically I went back to school and got another master's after my doctorate degree to get my certificate as an ABA, and went through all of the licensing requirements and things like that to become a board certified behavior analyst. During that time, I had a group private practice. I had 2 locations that I was running, and I decided I wanted to open up a clinic for my daughter. I wanted to have a space and a place for her and all kids like her, where they could get all the services under one roof with like-minded practitioners that were collaborating and working together.
And not just for her, for the parents juggling this, right?
Exactly.
You got to go here to this, and you got to go there to that. And not only, everybody doesn't have one kid, right?
No, exactly.
And so you're trying to juggle all the things. What
all
a blessing to those parents.
Yes.
To have it in one place.
Right, and that's why I created it, because I was like, there's nothing else like this that has the depth that we have, applied behavioral analysis. We have an academic program, a functional academic program. So we're teaching our children functional skills. A lot of our kids that go into the traditional schools, they're learning things like fractions, and that's not going to be applicable. My daughter needs to know time and money. Those are real life skills. So we're teaching our kids, we're spending our efforts and their efforts on things they're actually going to use. So we have an early enrichment program when they start younger, because a lot of our kids don't do well in traditional pre-Ks or VPK programs. So our program allows a therapist to be alongside with them. I would assume
it looks like bad behavior at those
Yeah,
ages.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And they're not prepared. And then they don't want us as providers to come into their environment because we've got another eyes in the classroom and things like that. And so they don't want us in there. So they do everything to push us out. So we're like, let's just have it. You know, that was the early enrichment program was not a part of that. The functional academic was, but we're getting all of these young kids that were being diagnosed. 18 months was our youngest kid that we got.
Crazy.
And then they're like, well, we don't have this. And we're like, okay, well, I built it to address a need that wasn't there. So of course we started in, you know, an early enrichment program.
And how old was your daughter when you started this?
So my daughter was, let's see, she's 8? Yeah, 8. Yeah, 8 years old, yeah. So, and I looked for a place that had everything that she needed and I couldn't find it. And so I'm just the type of person that's like, just, you know, pull up your big girl panties and march on and figure it out. Went back to school, got that, started doing some stuff in the homes and in the communities alongside my 2 private practices for mental health, and then, you know, purchased real estate. So I've always been a believer in you should purchase your real estate that you're practicing in. So I'd already had 2 buildings that I had purchased for my group therapy practices. So I bought like a 9,000 square foot building and opened up Autism Wonderland. It's spelled AWETISM for the play on the wonder and awe of autism. So many places I would go to too just seemed very negative. It was like negative. It wasn't strength-based. It was like they sit at the table all day. And I'm like, that's not what I believe in. I believe in following our clients. You know, our kiddos leave. What do they like to do? And how can we incorporate that into therapy and teach them those skills? So we do things a little bit differently. We have an indoor big sensory gym. We have an outdoor playground. We take our, you know, kiddos out in the community. It's just a different kind of, you feel that. You feel like when you come in, it's not this depressed place, you know, with special needs children. It's like
And
this
where is
community.
this
So it's in St. Augustine, Florida.
Okay.
So I started this, we're going into our 5th year, and it's been amazing. We can never keep up with the number of kids diagnosed. There's just too much of a need for the centers to keep up with that, which is why I've decided to franchise my location, because my goal was to open it for my daughter. I can only imagine how many other parents would like to provide that if they don't have that for their children. But it's very overwhelming. Like, it's a lot. And so I want to be that person that's like, oh, you want to do it? Here's the playbook. Let me help and guide you so that you can provide it for your children and the other children in the community. Otherwise, we're never going to be able to service, you know, all of our children.
Listen, y'all, I know today's episode is inspiring, but inspiration alone will never carry us to our ultimate goals. That's why I started the Society of Entrepreneurial Women. It's a mastermind for high-performing female investors and entrepreneurs who are living their lives unapologetically. In a world where most people don't get us, or they try to keep us confined in a small box, the Society exists to turn off the brakes and set you free. We have weekly calls covering investing, wealth building, health, relationships, family, and a whole lot more. We have small tribes to hold each other accountable to our goals. We have in-person, ladies-only retreats to disconnect and drive each other towards our dreams. And most importantly, this is a community where you can be unapologetically you. Celebrate your wins, scream your successes from the top of the rooftop, become best friends with women who get you. We're 3 years in, and I can honestly say my best friends today are all from the Society. Click the link in the show notes to learn more.
And so what's interesting about you as a mom is a lot of parents, especially special need parents, their entire being revolves around that child.
Yes.
And they go into this like survival mode where their whole life is supporting that child.
Yes.
And it's all they can figure out, right? They don't know any different. I can't imagine what their cortisol levels are like as they're trying to do this.
Yes.
But you've managed to balance. You built this business that supports your daughter, and then you decided, I want something that also makes me happy.
Right.
I'm not going to forget myself in this journey.
Right.
You're going to be 50 years old on
Yes.
Monday.
Yay, happy birthday.
And you have a lot of life to live.
Yes, definitely.
And being a mom is only part of that.
Right.
So talk me through this transition.
Yeah.
And maybe even transformation you
Yes.
had. When did that happen?
Right.
How did you pick the direction you were going to
Right.
go?
Yeah. Well, like you said, I was that mom that gave everything to my daughter, and then every little bit I had was going back to school, getting the license to be able to provide her a place. And I did not stay a night away from her until she was 10 years old. Every single night I was beside her. I never left her. And when she was 10, my friends are like, let's have a sleepover in the neighborhood next to her. I'm like, I don't know if I could leave her. I was so scared, and I did. And I was like, okay. But I still, after that time, did not leave her, very often. And then one of my best friends also has a child on the spectrum. And we're like talking about, all of our other friends who don't have special needs childs going on girls' trips and going on trips and having like a nanny and stuff like that. And we're like, why can't we do that? Like, yes, we have a special needs child, but why should that limit us being able to take care of ourselves? And I realized, like, I'm going to be taking care of my child for the rest of her life, the rest of my life, that I can take care of her. And if I don't start taking care of myself, I'm not going to be able to take care of her. So it appears, right, that I did it sort of for myself, but the underlying thing is like, I can't be here for my daughter if I don't take care of myself. And so that really started the journey. It was sort of like motivating.
Airplane, right?
Yeah, exactly. Put on your
first.
right, exactly. Yeah, your oxygen mask is like whatever, but people are like, no. But it's true. I obviously getting older, as we all do, right? And it's not going to get easier for me to care for her as I get older and as she gets older. So I was like, you know what? I need to take care of myself. And also another thing that I realized was, if I'm the only one that can take care of her, what happens if something happens to me tomorrow? She has an amazing dad, but a dad is not a mom or, a female, role model and figure in her life. And so I was like, I need to have more people that can support her too, which is where the center came in. I thought, well, she's getting that and has all of that other support. That's great, and I can support that support, but that does give me also, right, a little bit of time, right, to take care of myself. And so that was my journey. Started just taking care of myself, started having more friends, doing more things, and realized when I was taking, I am a fabulous mother, but doing that just really gave me that space then when I was really there with my daughter to be more present and to be an even better mom than I was before. And so it was like a win-win for everybody. It was also a situation where her dad too, like I was doing everything, and even though he wanted to and whatever, I was like, no, I've got it. Like, that transformation and that change for me too allowed him to step in more and bond more with her. And it was just like a beautiful thing. I always say, like, the universe supports what supports it, right? So as I was taking care of myself, all these other beautiful gifts and things evolved, which was better for the overall system. And then I got my time. So sort of when it's, difficult when you have a special needs child. It can take a lot on a relationship. Also, like when a travel or something like that, if you don't have someone that you're comfortable leaving with your child with, it's a challenge. It's a big challenge. The statistics are higher for people that have special needs children getting divorced than they are for the general population. We already know what the general population is already high. So went through, a divorce and was like, okay, now what? It's like, I did all this for my daughter. I have all this here. Things are going great. Like, what's my journey? I've always been a therapist. I've always been a helper. I've always been a giver. So sort of went through my own feminine, sexual, type journey, sensual journey to learn more about me, to be more in tune with who I am, to be more embodied of myself.
So when you say you went through that, where does that start?
Yeah. So, well, it starts by, just identifying like, okay, who am I, right? Like, we have children and we have businesses and we identify with that. But like at the core, who am I as a woman? Where's my feminine side? As business owners or as entrepreneurs, we're all focusing on the masculine side. I'm going to talk about this evening with your group. But it's all like we're hustling and it's all this masculine stuff. And it's like, wait, I love to sing and dance and paint and go with the flow and tap into. Those were all the feminine energies that I had that I wanted to tap into. So I started doing that. I started dance classes again. I started, running just to be out in nature and to be free. I started just exploring like touch in my body and like what that felt like. And those, types of things, and being more comfortable in talking about it. Like, we should not have shame about talking about sexuality or sensuality or any of that. And so I started just like this movement where I'm like, okay, now I did it for myself personally. now this is my mission to help other
clearly a
women.
caregiver, though,
Yes,
right?
I'm clearly, yes.
Clearly a caregiver.
Exactly. And I was like, oh, great. I found something that I can also take care of myself with as well as help other people, right? So it's a
most
win-win.
people don't go from like, I'm interested in my sexuality
Yes,
to let's
to-
become a sexologist.
Exactly.
So talk to me about that progression.
Yeah. Well, I think part of my life has been, I grew up in a small town. And I was like, okay, I know I'm not a small town girl. Like, I know I want more. And so I
Where
also.
are you from?
I'm from Missouri, very
Okay.
small town in Missouri, 13,000 people. And I was like, not that there's anything wrong, Mom, with Missouri. It's a great place. Thank you. But I just knew that I wanted something more. I wanted something different. I wanted something with more life, more cultural diversity. But I knew that the way for me to get that was I needed to work hard. I needed to work hard in school. I was a great student, not because I'm naturally smart, but because I studied and because I was motivated. I'm like, I'm gonna get out of school, I'm gonna college, I'm gonna get my doctorate degree, and then you know what? If I have a man, that's great, but guess what? I don't need a man. I can take care of myself. And if I want all of these things and all of these experiences, then it was up to me to provide them for. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I grew up working hard for every single thing that I had. And that has what's carried me to this. And then also just having a spiritual religious background that was about like, yes, this is your life and you can enjoy it, but it's also part of your purpose is giving back and is helping others. And if you can do that as a part of your natural journey, it's a win-win, and that's what you're supposed to be doing. So that's what led me to what I'm doing, now.
Ladies, it's time to redefine the conference experience with the Society of Entrepreneurial Women Retreats. Step inside a world tailored for women just like you, where you can lead, learn, and unwind in style. Our retreats offer everything from insightful investing sessions to fun activities like salsa dancing, boat cruises, food tours, and so much more, ensuring you come back not just inspired, but truly refreshed. Join a community that celebrates you wholly and supports your every endeavor. Ready for a retreat that changes the game? Visit the link in our show notes and find out how you can be part of this exclusive experience.
So you go from I'm exploring my feminine energy to now I've got a sexology.
Yes.
Is it a degree, a certification? How does that
a
work?
certification.
So you get the certification, and how does this progress after that into a full-fledged business?
Yeah. So I was a licensed mental counselor for a lot of years, and it does take a toll on you, especially when you have your own, special needs child, because it's like I was giving so much to her and absorbing so much from her that as a therapist too, you're really giving. So it's like, okay, if I'm going to go back in and help women and get into this therapy type sense, I need to do it in a way that it's not the heavy stuff, that there's a way to serve and it be more about pleasure and enjoying it versus more the hard, core emotional stuff. So I said, this is what I want to do. I want to have a community, an online community for women where I'm doing trainings each month and putting activities in there and getting them to talk and having them have a community. I met a lot of people as a sex therapist. They're like, I just wish I had I'm like, you don't really need therapy. You just really need a friend or a group, right, to talk to, right? That's
need
it.
a girlfriend that you're comfortable talking to us
So I'm
about,
like,
yeah.
oh, and they're like, well, I don't have anybody. I'm like, oh my God, we have like a group of like 5 women that are like really close and we can talk about anything. So I'm like, okay, I can fix that. I can create a community. In my community, you can come anonymously because some people, when they first start, they're sort of like, I'm not sure, like I want to, but I'm still, and that's fine. That's why we set it up so you can come anonymously. But you get that support from the women. You get activities so that you can, again, further your exploration of yourself or with your partner or whatever it is. Do different activities, different worksheets that I have and guiding them through experiencing things, sharing those things, reflecting.
So for some of the women who are watching this and they're kind of stuck in that masculine mode.
Yes.
We're getting all the million things done that are on
Yep.
our plate. You're running a business. You're making sure everybody's fed. How do they start to shift? Because it's
Right.
really tough when you've been in this. Some
Absolutely.
women are both mom and dad.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if there's a dad present, and they're filling both of those roles, and that masculine side of them
Right.
has truly become their identity.
Yes, absolutely.
Which it sounds like it had for you also.
Absolutely, yeah.
How do they begin? What are some baby steps for that feminine side of
Right.
you to start coming back?
Support.
Because also sometimes like the femininity or the feminine side is not praised.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Our culture doesn't necessarily praise that like
Right.
it could.
Right.
And so talk about some things they could start doing.
Yeah. Well, I think it's support. That's how I started. You know, maybe not everybody can go and hire a nanny, but if you also think about like how I did with my daughter, like I am her everything. What if something happens to me? Who's going to know how to take care of her? Who's going to know what she needs? Who's going to know? She's also nonverbal. She speaks with an iPad. Who's going to know how to use the iPad and how to help her and things like that? So I felt like it was my obligation actually to create that community and that support.
So let's talk about why on that. Because
Mm-hmm.
even though it sounds like, okay, but that's for my kid, but these are things that are going to make your system start to calm down and be at ease. Because you're like,
Absolutely.
okay, my daughter's going to be okay.
Right.
This is, talk to us about how this affects you to open up space for your feminine
Yeah,
energy.
absolutely. Yes, because you're worrying about all of these things. You're doing everything and you don't have that space and that time to think about actually all of these things that I'm doing might actually not be the best for my child or for myself. We're in it for the long run, right? Life is a marathon, not a sprint. And so by having that support and that community, you don't feel all alone. You feel like also there's other people like you that are struggling and doing the same. And you start opening up and connecting.
So what about the person who says, but I don't have anybody?
Then you got to find someone. Church, community center, social groups, women groups. Like if you can't find anybody, send me a DM because I will help you find someone. You know, like there are people out there. You know, I also thought that too. I'm like, who's going to know how to take care of like my special needs child? But I promise you it's out there. You start talking, you start looking at resources. And I believe like what is really supposed to be, you put that energy out there and it's going to come to you and it's going to find you.
Well, and I think some of it's even more simple than some people think. In this phase of life, I don't have a lot of support from a helping with my kids standpoint.
Right.
My mom's 900 miles away.
Yep.
She does come back every once in a while. And
Yep.
for example, we're at a mastermind now. As
Yeah.
much as I love being here, this is also part of my job.
Yes.
Right? So my mom comes in this week and helps with my kids.
helps.
But on a
Right.
weekly basis, it's
Right.
just my husband and I.
Right.
And your marriage really needs that time together without
Absolutely.
5 kids, without the
Right.
kids and the babies. And so I have a girlfriend who's local who also has no support.
Yeah.
And her and I trade date
Right.
nights.
Exactly. That's
And we even trade date nights to the point to where sometimes her kids will spend the night at my house for that
Right.
date night. Because her and her husband,
that.
they
Yeah.
need that date night.
absolutely.
And you are so much better parents. You're a better person. You're in a
Yes.
better mood. You
Yes.
get along better. You're more forgiving with each other.
Right.
Just from that couple-hour
Just
date
from
night
that. Right.
you find another mom in a mom's group
Right.
at church. Because
Right.
not everybody can afford, dude, babysitters are
Right.
expensive now.
They
so
are.
you go on a couple $100 date,
Right.
your babysitter costs a couple $100.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to spend that much money
Right.
every week.
Right. Exactly.
So find another mom you can
Yeah,
trade
find
with.
another mom. There's a lot of kids that want to get into babysitting in the neighborhood, those kinds of things,
Yes.
like giving them the opportunity to say, you know what, I might not be able to, afford to pay you, but do you want to volunteer? And then I will start sharing your services with other people where they start making money out of it. So that's why that connection and that community is so important, because money is not the only resource or the cash currency that we have. We can trade for time. We can trade for other services. Like there are things that you can do. And like you just said, like you might not know that you actually need that, but once you do it, you're like, oh my gosh, this was so valuable. I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends, will spend, $200 on like Starbucks, as a coffee. I'm like, make your coffee at home and then pay a babysitter. Like get your time, back for you in that kind of way. So there's always, I'm a solution-focused therapist. You can't give me any problem that I'm not going to find some solution to.
Okay, I am, but is that part
Yes.
of our masculine side? Because I remember I hired a life and relationship therapist.
Okay.
I didn't like her, and it didn't work out. We can talk about why later. But in my first session with her, she was talking about how some people just want you to listen to what they have going on, as opposed to like, no, I can tell you 12 ways
Right,
this can
provide
be different.
solution-
They're like,
exactly.
even my husband would be like, I didn't want the 12 ways. I wanted you to listen to
Yes,
me.
validate
right?
me, yes.
And not everybody wants that
No,
feedback.
no.
And it's not a very feminine characteristic to not be nurturing when they
Right.
talk about that.
Yes.
The men are usually the ones with like, here's the ways you fix
Right,
that.
right, yeah. But again, it ties back to the overall goal. So some strategies might not appear like they're feminine, but the overall approach is that we as women want to support and to help other women and provide resources and to have a community. So if you are open and you talk about it and you also are like, you know what, I don't really think I need it, but let me just try, one night. Let me just go out for one night and see what that does. And then when you see the effects of that, it's like, what you say about pleasure, it's like, you don't really know that you need it until you have it. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm really missing this, right? So you're so stuck in the survival.
Absolutely. Treat your lunch break differently.
Absolutely,
Let's do something different on your lunch break if you've got a regular job. And
right,
so
something.
Our tip one is kind of letting go of something, figuring out one way to kind of relieve some form of stress or load from it.
Right.
What's our next step?
Right, and then you have the space. What I find with a lot of people is like, I don't even know, if I had 2 hours to myself, what would I do? I don't even know, So I always think about, well, what did you like as a child? Like when you were innocent, well, I'm not saying adults are not innocent, but you know what I mean? As a child, what did you like? I like to sing, I like to move my body, I like to, swim, I like to go back to some of those things that before you even thought about, what do I like to do? You knew that you liked to do. Exactly. All the feminine stuff, all the movement stuff, because not only is that about getting your body moving and tapping into that feminine energy, but those kinds of things are typically going to provide you with other people that enjoy that too. So there's an extra bonus of friendship, or it's good for your health or whatever. And if you don't know, just try something randomly. Be like, okay, let me just go to a painting class, or let me go listen to some music, like whatever it is, and then see what you like. And I guarantee you will find pretty quickly some things that you really enjoy doing. And now you're like, okay, now that I did that, and now that I know how that feels in my body and how it helps me be a better mom, or how it helps me. I mean, when I learned self-care, I was like, oh my gosh, I can be so much more efficient at my job because I'm taking care of myself. So something that may have taken me 3 hours to do now, I'm like, oh, I can do that quicker. That automatically frees up that time so that I can do my dance or something like that. So it's getting that support to get the time, and then finding out what you love doing it, and then it's simply just doing it. Pencil yourself in, make yourself a priority, continue to figure out how you get support, who can help you, try new things, because even though things you might have liked as a child, you might still like, there may be other great things that you want to do too, and you want to try. And just be open to the process. It's very easy when you're out, right? Like when I'm dancing and I'm like, oh, guilt, I'm out here dancing instead of, taking care of my child. But then I realize, like the next morning I'm getting up, I'm dancing, I'm in a good mood, like I'm a much better mom because of that. And once you get, right, life is a lot about just developing habits. Once you get into the habit of that and see the natural benefits of that, it's just going to be more natural for you, and you're going to realize how amazing it is. It's going to reinforce itself, and then you just keep up with it.
So if we could leave the listeners with a tip, maybe we would tell them, let's pick one thing over the next week that you're going to try.
One thing.
Something maybe you liked as a child, or maybe you've seen. We get so many random social media like, oh, there's a pottery class, or there's a whatever.
Yes.
What's something that keeps popping up for you that like kind of sparks your interest a little bit?
Yes.
That over the next week or two, you could schedule for yourself.
Schedule and do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then pay attention to how you felt before, how you feel during, and then how you felt afterwards. Because you can just think like, oh, I just went to a comedy thing and I paid, $40 for a babysitter, and I don't really feel much different. It's also not something that you may have an immediate effect of that, but it might also take some time, because as we're doing those things, again, we have the shame, we have the guilt, like leave all of that at home, and just fully immerse yourself in that experience and in that moment. You're gonna thank Heather and I later. Thank you for encouraging me to do that, because this is the impact that it had.
So how do people find more about your community?
Yeah, so I have an Instagram. I'm not a huge social media person, but my Instagram is at dr.stephanie, spelled STEPHANIE_V. Is my Instagram. You can send me messages there. I think it has a Facebook connected to it, although I don't really do much of the Facebook. And then my website and my business name is Sexology, and I love play on words, just like Autism Wonderland. So Sexology is spelled SEXALOGY. ALLOGY for everything sexual, all the components, sexual health, sexual well-being, sex, all the good stuff for everyone. .com.
Thank you for doing this today. It's been great.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
Remember, authenticity is your superpower. Stay unapologetically yourself, and let's continue embracing our uniqueness together. Make sure you hit that follow button so you don't miss the next episode.